Hi, my name is Nick, and I like to sniff glue.
Hi, Nick.
Hi.
It's okay. You won't find any judgment
Why
here.
are you a purple elephant?
Why didn't we take the glue away from him before he came to the meeting? We didn't take the glue away from him before he came to the meeting. I told you we talked about this last week. This is a major breakthrough in group.
Who are you talking to?
I don't know.
You're still an elephant.
The elephant won't hurt you, sir.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is episode number Who Gives a Fuck of the Last Man Standing podcast.
It's something up there. I don't know what.
It's in the late teens.
It's in the late teens.
It's like...
Possibly it's allowed to drink.
It could be. It's definitely been sexually active for a few years. It's up there in the late teens. It's like 17 or something like that. It is Last Fan Standing. It's time for us to be super duper wrestling nerds.
Yay.
Hooray. So basically, this whole episode is going to be dedicated to talking about the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view that just went down last night and kind of maybe give some thoughts on where some things may be going from here. I think we quite possibly saw the end of a significant feud on Raw last night.
I'm hoping we did.
And we probably saw the continuation, for better or for worse, of one of the major feuds on Raw last night. And we saw possibly a new feud open up between the dude that's had too many titles and the dude that also, even though he's only had a couple, has probably had too many titles. Now, that's just me kind of busting the chops of Alberto Del Rio. But we're going to talk about Hell in a Cell. But before we talk about Hell in a Cell, we got a little bit of Twin City Wrestling business that I don't think we covered the last time. Because the last time, I don't think we had a date for the shows after the Blockhouse shows.
I don't believe so, no.
So what has happened since then is it's been announced that Saturday, November 29th, I believe is what the date is.
I believe that's Friday.
Oh, yeah, Friday, sorry, yes. Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. I fucked it up. It is a Friday.
It's all good.
All right, Friday the 29th in Dartmouth at the Dartmouth Sportsplex, which is apparently the home of TCW. That's what they said anyways.
It's not the home of TCW.
Well, apparently it is now.
It was like the second home of TCW.
Yeah, fair enough.
But Blockhouse was the first.
Yeah, but you know, that's what they're calling it anyways. But in any case, the Dartmouth Sportsplex in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, in the Halifax regional municipality, whatever the hell they want to call it. That's going to be the second set of television tapings for Twin City Wrestling. So very, very exciting. If you're in the Halifax-Dartmouth area, make sure you get your butts out to that show because that'll be a great show. Full roster, television taping. The first television taping was great despite the relatively small crowd that was there, but you'll see that when it gets on TV in January. I think we said that last time, didn't we?
Yes.
January 2014, right on.
Yeah.
So when that gets on TV, you'll be able to see like the crowd that was there, and again, real great show, and they got a real competent guy doing the editing too, so it's going to be a great show when it comes out. Second set of Twin City Wrestling TV tapings, Friday, thank you, November 29th, Dartmouth Sportsplex. Tickets not on sale yet. I'm going to assume they'll probably use Eventbrite like they've used for a couple other ones.
Quite possibly.
But watch out for on TCW's Facebook page, on their Twitter, they're on Instagram, they're everything. TCW's blowing up in social media.
Oh man, they're everywhere.
They did. They've tossed up an account. They dip their dicks in pretty much everything you can in terms of social media. So find them on whatever social media platform you happen to use. Follow all the news. Follow the guys, and get yourself out to a Twin City Wrestling show if you have not yet. Okay, so let's get into some Hell in a Cell. But beforehand, Nick, this show is a little bit different, isn't it? This week's show.
Why? What do you mean?
I was hoping you would tell them.
You put me on the spot again here. So
Here's what happens. Sometimes just randomly, and sometimes I do it just for fun. I grab Nick and I throw him under the bus. Just to keep him on his toes. What's different about this week's show, sir?
We have Skype plugged in?
Yes, we have our Skype line. It is open.
It's always open though.
It is, but we never make a point of telling people that it's open. So it's always just kind of been like assumed that it's kind of open, but we're making a point of telling you that this time our Skype line is open, nhb.podcast. So, I mean, we're going to talk, and we've got an hour's worth of material that we can talk about because there was a relatively big pay-per-view last night. So we've got plenty of material. But the main thing is we want to hear from you guys. We want to hear what you thought of the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view last night. We put it out there on Facebook and we put it out there on our Twitter last night, and we just did it before we started recording here. You know what the Skype line is, nhb.podcast. Call in. So the big thing that's going to be different about this show is at any moment, literally at any second, we could be interrupted by a Skype phone call.
Yes.
Which kind of makes it fun because you don't want to get too deep into something and then somebody's just going to call, which is kind of cool. So that's what's new about this one. That's what's different about this show. It's the imminent danger. So you're not going to want to stop listening because you never know when someone might call in. We may have one of our famous guests that we've had on before, like
quite possibly
Masked Tweeter or Gabe Vanals or Doug Robar. They might call in. Or we might get some new calls. Maybe you'll call if you happen to be listening to this somehow. Periodically throughout the show, we're going to remind you that the Skype line is open. But let's get into talking about Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
You did not watch the show live.
I did not know. I got home late from work. Mm-hmm. I decided to make some lunchy munchies and
lunchy munches?
Yeah, and just, laze around, and then you texted me at like 11 minutes to 11.
Right.
And you're just like, I hope you're watching the WWE pay-per-view, and I'm like,
oops.
Yeah. So, yeah, I caught or I semi-caught the replay.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I didn't dislike it, but I did not like it.
This is just kind of your overall impression of the show?
Yes.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, and that's kind of the thoughts that I had been hearing from a bunch of people online. People that had been watching the show live at the same time I was, like those big Facebook groups that I've told you about a couple times. I won't repeat them.
Yeah.
But there a lot of wrestling fans on them, people that were watching the pay-per-view live, and it's kind of the same thing. There were some things there that they liked, and there were some things that they were just like, really? Like, are we going this way now? Mm. And there was one thing in particular that like people were just raging, just total rage-gasming over the fact that this happened. But then after a couple of minutes, they were eventually just like, well, wait, crap, what did I expect?
Well, yeah.
What did I expect was actually going to happen? So we'll get into talking about all that stuff. I took copious notes during the show.
I see that. So you were prepared.
I was. I had this shit on lockdown. Also, periodically, you may hear me sip, or you may hear like a can hit the microphone or something like that. You know what? We're a free fucking podcast. We don't cut this shit out.
That's right.
I'm drinking from a big old, like, big gulp Wendy's thing of iced tea, and Nick's cracked a fucking beer. So
it is what it is.
It is what it is. Get over it. So I'm going to take a sip right now, and then we're going to get into the first match on the actual pay-per-view.
Okay.
Tasty. All right.
Yeah.
So, the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view kind of got off to a bad start when we heard that Curtis Axel legit has injured both of his hips. And because originally it was supposed to be Curtis Axel defending the Intercontinental title against Big E Langston.
Right.
And unfortunately, Curtis Axel has a legit injury in both of his hips, which is weird. Usually it's like one hip or the other. But this time, unfortunately, it was both of his hips, and it's a legitimate injury that unfortunately is going to keep him out for some time.
Did we hear how this injury happened?
All I heard was freak accident. So I don't know if maybe like it happened on a house show, like Saturday night, or Friday night or something, or maybe it was just that. Maybe it was just a freak accident. But in any case, unfortunate that Curtis Axel is going to be out for a little while. The status of the Intercontinental title, we don't know right now. We don't know if it's going to be held in abeyance or if it's going to be vacated or what it's going to do. Vacant. Ladies and gentlemen, vacant for Hall of Fame. I'm determined to get the hashtag vacant for Hoff trending on Twitter.
Man, he's already had the Undisputed.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to probably have the United States.
Intercontinental,
the IC.
Doesn't he also currently have the TNA World Heavyweight Championship?
I believe so. Yes.
I think the TNA title has been held up.
He's just jumping shows left and right.
I'm telling you, I mean, like the dude is intense to cut. Every professional wrestler pisses and moans legitimately, but about the road schedule of working for WWF. It's like, I'm on the road 300 days a year. Motherfucker, vacant? Vacant. Wrestles in multiple promotions. He's an indie guy that also wrestles in the big time. He's vacant for Hoff.
Yeah.
Vacant for Hoff, god damn it. So again, unfortunately, feel kind of bad for Curtis Axel. Hope he's back soon. I think he's actually a good talent, and it's nice to have Paul Heyman with him because the poor guy can't cut a promo very well.
No.
So it's nice to have
fucking
Happy Heyman with him.
Happy Heyman.
Happy Heyman.
Oh, God.
You like that, eh? But the pay-per-view itself kicked off with a triple threat match for the WWE Tag Team Championships. Of course, if you watched Raw a couple weeks ago, you'll know that Goldust and Cody Rhodes, after winning their jobs back, then beat the Shield for the tag titles. So Goldust and Cody Rhodes hold the tag titles, defending against the Shield and the Usos. And as I watched this match, the first thing that popped into my head was something that I said when I was ring announcing the first TCW show.
Really?
And that was, who says tag team wrestling is dead? Because I thought this match was phenomenal. I thought this was such a great way to kick off the pay-per-view because like all three teams put on a show in the ring, which is what really matters.
Right.
You had high flying, you had technical wrestling, you had chain wrestling, you had near falls and saves, you had high spots, you had everything that you could ask for, and all three of these teams are over big time with the crowd. Like the crowd loves everything that they do.
True.
So that was such a great way to kick off the pay-per-view. Unfortunately, it's quite possible that nothing else on the pay-per-view lived up to the opening match, which is always a problem when you put a really, really good match right at the beginning of the pay-per-view. But your opinion on this match, I think, slightly differed from mine.
My opinion on the match?
Yeah.
I like Cody Rhodes.
Right.
I don't mind Goldust. I haven't seen enough of him to really form an opinion.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean,
even from back in the day?
Yeah, because I mean, I haven't been I haven't watched wrestling. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Back when?
Right, that's true. Fair enough.
I'm just starting to. I've got it downloaded.
Oh, nice.
And I'm going to be going ahead, like year to year to year, to watch it.
Okay,
to
right on.
Kind of get myself in the loop.
Yeah, get yourself refamiliarized with like Attitude Era stuff and the like. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do you like the other two teams, like the Shield and the Usos?
Oh yeah,
you're a Shield fan.
I'm a Shield fan for sure, and like I said in podcasts before, the Usos should have the belts.
I would think so. I think if the belts are not going to be on the Shield, I feel they should be. I think we've both felt they should be on the Usos.
Yeah.
Like I think the Usos are probably the most undervalued tag team in the company. Now, granted, there's only like 5 tag teams in the company, but still. I think they're the most undervalued team in WWE for their talent. Like, I mean, you could say, well, but what about tons of Funk's more undervalued than they are? It's like, well, yeah, but the talent level there is not on the same level as the Usos.
It's not talent level at all.
So,
I mean, come on.
Like,
come on.
They're two big guys. There's only so much they can do. But like I just like watching the match start to finish. It was just
the match was good. There was one point that Rhodes botched. Like you could see it.
What was it? Do you remember?
I think it was a run to the ropes.
Oh, when he was trying to knock the two guys over?
I believe so.
Maybe, yeah, because I remember he was trying to knock. He was trying to send, I think, Rollins and Reigns over both, and I think Rollins went over, but Reigns was like kind of hanging on the top of the rope or something, and then he like tries to himself to like jump backwards again. I think I just caught that on the camera. So yeah, that could have been better. And unfortunately, there was one spot there. Oh no, sorry. That's in a later match. My bad. But there was one spot in this match that I fucking loved. It was when everybody was on the outside.
Yeah.
Except Cody Rhodes and Rollins. Rhodes and Rollins were in the ring. Everybody else was kind of like whatever on the outside. Rhodes puts Rollins on the top and superplexes him from the top rope to the outside of the ring onto everyone that's like battling on the floor.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. And it's been so long since at a WWE show, the crowd has started chanting, "This is awesome." And they did. And I was like, that has to feel so good for those guys. Because it's been so long since anybody has been able to elicit that kind of reaction at like a televised or a pay-per-view WWE show.
For
WWF,
sure.
I guess I'm going back in time.
You are going back in
15
time.
years. But
where are we?
I don't. What's a podcast? See, we could be the fucking first ones to do this. If we hop in the Wayback Machine, it'd be the first ones and like go back to like the 80s or some shit and cut the very first ever podcast.
There you go.
We could be millionaires.
All we gotta do is find a hot tub.
Yeah, that's fuck. God, that movie was terrible. It's a hot tub time machine. I just looked at the camera, all dramatic, like that dramatic squirrel, or whatever he was. Any hoodly doodle. Another thing that I noticed about this, and you kind of know it from watching their matches, but like the Shield cut better promos during their matches than a bunch of the guys on the roster do when they're cutting promos. Like if you listen to them talk in the middle of matches.
Yeah.
Like in this match, like there was a point where they were like really isolating Goldust. And you could hear from the outside, like you hear Roman Reigns, and he was just like, "You're too weak to get that tag, old man." I was just like, where did that come from? Or like Rollins was just like, "Oh, you don't want me beating up on your little brother," because he's trying to go over and get a tag. And I'm just like, these guys are cutting better promos in the middle of their match than a bunch of guys on the roster do when they're actually trying to cut promos, which I just found very, very entertaining. Goldust and Cody Rhodes, of course, retain the tag team titles.
Of course.
Rhodes is the one that gets the fall. And I can't help but feel that this is probably building towards the two of them feuding.
You think?
Yeah, because in the tag matches, like Goldust has looked decent, but like at the end of the day, it's been Rhodes that's been winning the matches. I feel, anyways. I might be wrong in saying that when they actually won the tag titles. I can't remember. But it seems to me that it's been Cody that's been actually winning the matches. So I feel like maybe it might ultimately be leading towards the whole like oh, you're dead weight, and I'm the better Rhodes brother, and da 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 da. Because for a long time, fans have wanted to see Goldust versus Cody at a WrestleMania.
Okay.
Like fans have wanted to see that for a little while, so maybe they might be building that way. Until they get to that point, of course, it's all speculation. But it would be kind of nice maybe to go that way, but who knows? Any other thoughts on this match, or like, do you think the right team won? Would you rather somebody else have won the match? Or
no, not really. Okay. It's just it puts it to a good storyline.
Yeah,
because you got the Shield trying to get back the tag team belts. Mm-hmm. You had the Rhodes brothers who have just got their jobs back recently and won the tag team champions, and they're all happy, joy.
Happy,
joy. And I mean, it seems right.
Yeah, and then you've got the Usos, who were still like, motherfuckers, we were the number one contenders.
Yeah.
And so they can still, and they can have a respectful feud. Like, I mean, it can be a Dudley Boys, Hardy Boys, and Edge and Christian kind of thing, because that is when that's why tag team wrestling got hot again in WWF and WWE, is because you had those three teams and you put them in the ring together. And they didn't hate each other. They had respect for each other, but they beat the ever-living piss out of each other. And that's how they got respect for each other. And that's how you got tag team wrestling over back in the day. So I don't see why they can't do that again. So I do hope they run with this for a little while, because I feel like this is still something that we could see on the next couple of pay-per-views, even like this exact match with some different stipulations and stuff thrown in. And you could use this as a way to get wrestling hot, or to get tag team wrestling hot again.
Oh, for sure.
So fingers crossed that's what they end up doing. Just a reminder to anyone who may be watching, our Skype line is open, nhb.podcast, or just search for NHB Podcast, and you can find us that way. Give us a call in. Let us know what you thought about the Hell in the Cell pay-per-view, whether it was the match we just talked about or all the stuff we haven't gotten to yet. Yeah. So after this match, we had a segment between The Miz and the Wyatt family, which I was like, okay, fair enough. It's a good way to get Miz a pay-per-view paycheck, because he's like, because they said, oh, we can't. I'm not cleared to wrestle a match, but I'm cleared to fight, or something like that. Which, fine. It's a good enough promo. It always works. Yeah. It's something that you can always kind of toss out there, even if it's not really your character. Like, as
is always exciting to watch.
Miz TV's entertaining.
And the Wyatt family.
The Wyatt family is very entertaining to watch. And you know what, man? Fucking Survivor Series is coming up. I would love to see a classic Survivor Series match with all three members of the Wyatt family in it.
Oh, hell yeah.
Like a Bray Wyatt-led team versus like a Miz-led team of, I don't know, him and R-Truth and somebody. And Kane. There you go. Miz, R-Truth, and Kane. Because Kane came back the very next day. Kane came back. You thought he was a goner, but Kane came back. He just couldn't stay away. Wow. That came out of nowhere. So Bray Wyatt comes on because Miz is like, I'm here to fight. And Bray Wyatt, I want you to come out here without your cronies and everything like that. So Bray Wyatt gets on the big screen, and he cuts another really good promo, because like motherfucker can promo like a boss. Like, his promos are so good. And he promos about the monster that lives behind his eyes, and it's like, wow. That's a great promo. And Miz is just standing there like, oh, I think this guy's gonna eat my soul. And then, of course, Harper and Rowan, like the lights cut out, and then Harper and Rowan are there. They ambush Miz, and this is the return of Kane, because the fucking pyro hits, and Kane comes out, and it was slightly disappointing because we've said on this podcast multiple times that what we wanted to see out of Kane was for Kane to come back as the fourth member of the Wyatt family. Like, that's what we wanted.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, doesn't look like we're going to get that.
Fortunately not. It's kind of disappointing.
A little bit. You know, Kane returns. He almost botches a slam. He picks up one of them because, I mean, Harper and Rowan are big boys. Like, they're big dudes, right? And Kane picks one of them up, and clearly he underestimated how big the guy was, because he picked him up and he got about halfway and his arms got right wobbly, and he's just like, oh shit. And then he just kind of dropped him. It's like, oh no, that didn't look good. So, they run away or whatever, and Miz and Kane are in the ring, and Miz is like, oh yeah, awesome, thank you. Kane turns around and choke slams him in good Kane fashion. So it's like, well, I sure as hell wasn't here to help you, sir. I was here to get a piece of the Wyatts.
Evil-minded Kane is back.
Yeah, and you know what? That would be nice. That would be good. Like, and stick with it for a little while, because it's hard to rehab Kane's image after Team Hell No.
Kind of, yeah.
Right? Because, like, is a dude that's supposed to be a monster, but he's going to fucking anger management, and, like, all right. But, like, it's hard to rehab after that. So hopefully maybe Angry Kane is back. Again, really was a little disappointing to see him not be the fourth member of the Wyatt family. I was really hoping that they would have the balls to do that. I had a little yawn there, sorry. I hope they had the balls to do that. Unfortunately, they didn't. But what are you going to do?
Can't do anything.
Nope.
Just sit back and watch and have a shit-eating grin on your face.
Exactly. Just be like, this is what they're giving me now. Twinkle, twinkle. That was my shit-eating grin. Twinkle, twinkle. All right. Let's might as well move on. Nick, did you need like a piss break or something? Because we're going to talk about Fandango and Summer Rae in a mixed tag match with Great Khali and Natalya.
This is the one match that I went to make food.
Was this was the one where you went to make food? That's understandable.
And it's just this match, literally, it looks like they were trying to fill time. Like they were like, shit, we got nothing.
This is supposed to be 3 hours.
Yeah. You and you, go, wrestle.
Exactly.
And they're like, okay.
Okay. Were we feuding? No, get out there. Okay. Do we know who's going to win yet? No, we'll figure that out. Go. Okay. Which one of us comes out first? Just go. Okay. Oh, at least I got a paycheck. Exactly. So yeah, fucking Fandango and Summer Rae and Great Khali and Natalya, and the way that they like sold the fact that these people were feuding was they were like, Summer Rae and Natalya have been going at it back and forth on Twitter all week. And it's just like, that makes a fucking wrestling feud now? They just start beefing on Twitter a little bit, and then it's like, okay, I guess we're gonna have a match now. Okay. It's like,
I don't get it.
I don't. But the biggest thing is just like, Natalya is a fucking wrestler, guys. Like, she can wrestle. She's not part of, or she shouldn't anymore be a part of the friggin' Great Khali and Hornswoggle sideshow. Get her away from that. You've had this poor girl doing farting angles, fucking coming out and dancing with Great Khali. She's one of the best female wrestlers you have on your roster. How about using her that way?
Absolutely.
Have her be the Beth Phoenix. She's the only Beth Phoenix you've got left on the roster, right? Like somebody who is just like, I'm going to wrestle you now, and I'm going to wrestle fuck you out of your boots because she can. So, like, use her that way. But in any case, that's not how they're going to do it with this match anyway. Natalya spanked Summer Rae just randomly. just in the middle of the match for no reason.
I'm sure there was a reason.
Oh, maybe there was a reason. Maybe it was just like, you love it, you slut. She was just like, I do. But just, and you know, they were having a really like good match up to this point, and then all of a sudden just, wow. And it's like, and the crowd was like, yeah, woo. But it was like, all right.
The crowd likes anything that women do in the ring, man.
It's true.
It's just liquor and crowds equal woo.
I thought you were saying liquor. It's like, all right.
No.
I'm sure that would get a crowd reaction as well.
Maybe it would.
It probably would.
Maybe if every week they came out and licked each other, maybe that will improve the ratings.
Hey, it probably would. You would have that little infographic that they play at the end of commercial breaks. Monday Night Raw was viewed by more people than anything else because it was just the girls licking each other. Could work. Can't do any worse.
God.
And the big thing that stood out about this match to me is the fact that Natalya and Summer Rae wrestled better than the guys did. Like the two big main segments where the two of them were in the match was actual wrestling, aside from the natty spank. Like, it was actual wrestling. It was like chain wrestling, technical wrestling, even from Summer Rae. Like, I've never seen her wrestle before. Like, I never saw her on FCW or in NXT or anything like that. Girl can actually wrestle. You'd never know.
Yeah.
Because she just dances with Fandango all the time. So, yeah, she could actually wrestle, and she gets the pinfall. Fandango and Summer Rae win because Summer Rae gets the pinfall on Natalya. And I was like, okay, that's kind of cool. You maybe get her over a little bit as an actual wrestler, which would be kind of nice. Because without that, she's just the sexy blonde that dances with Johnny Curtis.
It's true.
So it would be kind of nice to maybe see her get over at least a little bit as an actual wrestler. So that, you know, I mean, it was a piss break. Like, I mean, that's ultimately that's all the match was. It was a pee break, and that's what I used it for.
That you should have.
Exactly. So we'll take a moment here and again remind people that our Skype line is open, nhb.podcast. Find us on Skype. Call in. Let us know what you thought about the WWE Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. How's about, as a change of pace, we talk about another wrestling match?
Sounds good to me. Let's go.
Sounds good.
We'll change it up here.
Fair enough.
And we'll...
Instead of talking about wrestling match, we'll talk about this wrestling match. The United States Championship, Dean Ambrose defending the title against Big E Langston. Of course, like we said before, this was originally supposed to be Curtis Axel defending the Intercontinental title against Big E Langston, because they're the ones that have actually had this little mini feud. Like, Langston and Dean Ambrose have not been feuding. So there was really no reason for Langston to get the title shot other than the fact that Axel hurt himself. What did you think about this match, sir?
Anything with Dean Ambrose in it is going to be a good match.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, he's one of those guys that you can put anybody in the ring with him, and he's going to make him look good.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I myself, I didn't dislike this match. There were some points in it that, of course, it's just like any match. You're like,
right,
kind of. You know, that could have looked better, or hey, I really like this. The finish of the match, which was drawing a blank.
Ambrose basically just Ambrose got himself counted out.
Yeah. He got himself counted out.
Right.
Which, okay. I can understand the point of being counted out.
It's kind of all right because he's a heel.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be a heel. So
yeah, but still, I mean, I would rather have seen a pin. I'd rather like to see a pinfall.
Yeah, I think we'd always kind of prefer to see a clean, not so much a clean finish, but a decisive finish. And like a count out or a DQ is not a decisive finish, right? So yeah, I feel you there. I think I would have rather seen it end quote unquote properly, if I can venture to use that term, end properly. There were a couple of you watch Botchamania, don't you? Or you have watched Botchamania in the past?
Mm-hmm.
You know that segment on Botchamania called "Everybody Talks Too Much"?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There were a couple of those moments in this match. I don't know whether you caught them or not because they were right quick, but I caught on to a couple of them, and they were both from Ambrose because Ambrose has that gritty voice.
Yeah.
And it resonates and it travels really well. So there were a couple of moments. There were a couple of everybody talks too much moments. Ambrose had Langston like kind of in a corner, and he was punching him a little bit, just giving him those like little rabbit punches things that he does.
Yeah.
And you could very audibly hear Ambrose go, "Turn me around." And then the very next thing that happens is Langston grabs him and turns him into the turnbuckle. So I was like, oh no, that was an everybody talks too much moment. And then there was another one where like Langston is kind of putting on some offense and you hear Ambrose go belly to belly. And then Langston does a belly to belly.
Nice.
So it's like, oh, that's unfortunate. But like I said, his voice is is just grizzled, and it just
yeah.
The microphones pick it up very easily. So I was like, that's unfortunate that happened, but it didn't blow the match or anything like that. Like it's wrestling, it happens. But it'll be funny to see it on Botchamania, probably the next one.
Oh, for sure.
I would imagine. And there was that kind of speaking to your point there, where you said there was some stuff that could have looked a little better. WWE looks like they started using that like slow-mo cam. Maybe they're going to be using that a little bit more, and they did that a couple times in this match because every move that Langston does is so high impact, right? So it translates to good slow-mo stuff. Except for, it was one of the clotheslines that Langston did. He went and he just like threw this big clothesline, and it hit Dean, but I think it was the brow of Big E Langston hit Ambrose's chin, and it busted Langston open. Under his eye.
Okay.
I think it was under his right eye. I think it was his right eye. And so that it busted Langston open under his right eye, and it busted open the bottom of Ambrose's chin.
Oh, really?
So, and that's like, neither one of those are places that's going to bleed a lot, right?
Right.
So it's like, there wasn't a little, but there was a little bit of blood under Ambrose's chin, and you could definitely see the cut like under Langston's eye. So it's like, ooh, that was a little bit of a botch. I don't think, and I always hate to blame botches on people. I don't like to do it because I'm more about like, if I see a botch, I'm just more about like, is everybody okay?
Yeah.
And I think that's just like a product of watching wrestling for so long. It's just like you come to learn, or you come to like accept that botches are just a part of wrestling.
True.
So it's just like immediately it's just like, oh shit, is everybody okay? But I saw that and I was just like, ooh, like that's a product. A botch like that is a product of somebody in the ring who is still very green. And that's what Langston is. Like, I mean, he hasn't been wrestling for a long, long, long time.
Right.
So it's just a product of a guy that's kind of green. And it was a mistake. Probably won't happen again. But it was just kind of funny at the end of the match to just see like, did I just watch like an MMA fight or something? Because it's not a place that like a professional wrestler usually gets cut. It's usually a spot where like boxers and MMA fighters get cut because they're getting punched in the face.
Right.
So it was just kind of funny to see like a quote unquote real cut in that on that part of the face. It was kind of cool. Of course, like we said before, Big E Langston wins the match by countout, which means Ambrose retains the United States title. Langston pulls Ambrose back into the ring after the match and hits him with the big ending, which is good. I was kind of hoping, because I haven't seen him do a big ending to anybody for a while, so I was kind of hoping that you'd get to see it, because I actually like it. I think it's a good finisher.
Yeah.
So do we expect that this is a feud that we'll kind of continue seeing, or like where we don't really know what's going to happen with the Intercontinental title? Like maybe there could be like a tournament or something like that, or would you rather see like Big E be a part of that where he was actually feuding with Curtis Axel? What do you think?
Yeah, I would like to see him go, and I guess I would like to see him as the IC champion.
Okay, right on.
Of course, like you said, he's green. He hasn't been wrestling for that long.
Mm-hmm.
He's good in the ring.
Right.
I mean, not as good as he could be, but give him a couple more years, and
for sure,
he will be there.
Let us not forget that. I mean, for the first couple of years of his career, Batista was very green. He was green as a fucking gourd. But once he got a couple years of polish, I mean, then he was a world champion, and his in-ring improved so much in like his first couple of years, which is good to see.
Now, if there's, I don't know if there's a feud there between Dean Ambrose and Big E, though. I mean,
right.
There's nothing to build up with it, and this match was thrown together because of course, Curtis Axel was injured. So there's not really much of anywhere to go with it. I mean,
that's fair.
Like you said, if they put together like a battle royal or a King of the Ring competition that's staggered to determine who the new IC champion is going to be if the title is vacant, if they're going to take it off of Curtis Axel.
Right.
I mean, I would love to see that. But of course, who can tell at this point?
Yeah, it's hard to tell because we don't really know the extent, or I don't at this point anyway, because I haven't had a chance to check the sheets, the extent of Curtis Axel's injury. So it's hard to tell. I did actually see that we did pick up a viewer on our chat stream. We picked up 1/4 of Twin City Wrestling Smart Mark Alley, Justin Carver, and Justin Carver is just tossed a couple of posts on there. Saying he wants to see Big E get elevated. The crowd seems to be getting behind him. I didn't notice that so much. Like during the match and everything, I didn't really. And maybe this was just a product of this being like, it being this match, and they were in Miami and everything like that. Maybe it was a product of that, but I didn't really hear the crowd getting behind Big E all that much. Yeah. Sounded like more of the crowd was behind Ambrose. So I'm just wondering if was it a crowd of smart fans or something that's like, we're going to cheer Ambrose no matter what he is. And so I'm not 100% sure. I didn't really hear it.
Crowds like that. I mean,
yeah.
In like John Cena and CM Punk matches, you get crowds that is like,
let's go Cena CM Punk. Yeah. Let's go Cena CM Punk. Yeah. Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, it all determines what the crowds feel like.
Yeah, fair enough. Justin Carver says, finally got some free time to check out what this is all about. My friend, we appreciate that very, very much. If you want to, feel free. If you have Skype, feel free to give us a call. Our Skype line is open, so we'd love to have you on the actual show if you want to do that. Our Skype address is nhb.podcast. So if you'd like to come on and give us a call and chip in on some of the conversation here, we'd love to have you. Or you can just stick in the chat stream, and we'll check in on you there periodically as well. At this point, we've talked about the United States title match. We talked about Fandango and Summer Rae and Great Khali and Natalya. We talked about the Miz and the Wyatt segment, and we talked about the tag team triple threat match that opened up the show. So we are going to move on here. We had somebody log in on Skype, didn't we?
We did.
All right. So what we've got next after this, after the Ambrose and Biggie Langston match, we had the first of our 2 Hell in a Cell matches, which was CM Punk in a handicap match against Ryback and Happy Heyman.
Can you really call this a handicap match?
Not the way that Paul Heyman got out of it being a handicap match. And you know what? I know that like WWE keeps people around like Santino and Great Khali and Hornswoggle because they're all like, this is funny, this is funny, this is funny. A great lesson in booking and drawing money that I learned from one of the great bookers in this industry, Jim Cornette. Funny, don't draw money. That's what he always used to say to his wrestling students. Funny, don't draw money.
Right.
Be serious. Take what you're doing seriously. And you get somebody like Paul Heyman, who is a perfect match of somebody who is able to draw, is a good, is a good talent on his own, just like with his voice.
Right.
But can also be very, very funny. And this was a perfect example of Paul Heyman doing something to be really, really funny, not necessarily intending to, but being really, really funny. He came out on a fucking cherry picker. And we're just like, why is he on a cherry picker? This doesn't make any sense. And like originally I thought it looked like, if you go back and you look at like WrestleMania 3, when everybody came out on those like blue cart things.
Right.
I thought it was one of those, and I was like, wow, that's really cocky. He's coming out on one of those things. But then I realized, no, it's a fucking cherry picker. And then, then he raises the cherry picker and walks onto the top of the cell. So he didn't no-show the match. Yeah. He still showed up for the match. But then he fucking goes up and stands on top of the cell. And it's just like, this is so blissfully silly, but it's Heyman, so it's funny. Whereas I don't crack a smile at anything Santino Marella does anymore, but to me is funny.
You liked Elvis Cobra.
You know what? I can't lie. I liked Elvis Cobra. Elvis Cobra was funny. So that's like the first thing that I've laughed at. With respect to Santino Marella, that's the first thing that I've laughed at that he's done since I heard that Jim Cornette slapped him 16 times when he was in Florida Championship. OVW. He just paintbrushed him. But there was like 3 sets of these paintbrushes. That I laughed at, and then Elvis Cobra. So you know what? I tell a lie. Elvis Cobra was pretty funny. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back from our little technological interlude there, and we have a caller, as we kind of alluded to there at the end of things before everything went to shite. We have a caller, and it is a friend of mine from university, huge wrestling fan. Matter of fact, the first person who ever turned me on to TNA. So fuck you for that one, sir.
Jesus, that's fucking forever ago.
That's
wasn't it?
a long. That's 2003, I think. So that was a long time ago, back when TNA was relevant and decent. We are talking to Dave Pelrine. Dave, how are you, sir?
Pretty good. How are you guys?
Not too bad, not too bad. Now that we've actually got you through and you seem to be coming through fairly well, we're at the point, I don't know whether you've been listening or not up to this point, we're all the way through the pay-per-view right up to the CM Punk versus Ryback and Paul Heyman handicap match, cherry picker thing, which I thought was really funny. But just for some of the stuff that we have talked about prior to, I just kind of wanted to get, first of all, just kind of get your thoughts on the pay-per-view in general, and then maybe just on if you had individual thoughts on some of the earlier matches, like the tag team title match, the Fandango Summer Rae, Great Khali Natalya match, the U.S. title match.
So I watched the very end of the CM Punk match, and from there on. So
perfect.
I'm up to where you guys are.
Beautiful, right on. So, of course, like we said, CM Punk versus Paul Heyman and Ryback handicap match. That wasn't really a handicap match, but at least Heyman showed up. I don't know if right at the beginning of the match, it was so funny because it looked like Heyman was coming out on one of those like WrestleMania 3 like blue chariot things that they used to come down that long entry ramp they had for WrestleMania 3, but he came out on what we of course later eventually figured out was a cherry picker, and then just elevated himself on top of the cage, which, again, I thought was hilarious. And I quoted that whole Jim Cornette thing, funny don't draw money, but in the case of Paul Heyman, somebody that is a great talent and can be very funny, like unintentionally and stuff, for whatever reason, that just kind of worked for me. But from what you caught, Dave, from the CM Punk Ryback in a Hell in a Cell, what did you think of the match?
Again, actually, came in kind of late. Saw some of the replays. Pretty good match. Ryback holds his own. He's been in the cage before. Right. So it's nothing new to him. And Punk obviously carries anybody he's with.
Yeah, fair enough.
Though, I don't know. Paul Heyman's been holding his own as the comedy heel. He's been a fairly good heel in general, working with, Curtis Axel, I guess lesser talent, maybe.
Well, younger at the very least, but yeah.
Young, green. And different angles like that. Just very old school, fashionable territory heel.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Territory heel is a fantastic way to put it, I think. Justin Carver on our Ustream here chimed in, like he the way the match came off to him anyways, it came off to him as really slow. It seems to think that Ryback's kind of sucking lately and he can't really see him going anywhere but down the ladder. But my thought on it was, like, does Ryback have much further down the ladder to go? Like, if we were talking about a guy that now at this point I believe is 1-6 on pay-per-view this year. So he's relevant, yes, but I think stuck in a gimmick right now that not the Heyman part of it. The Heyman part of it I think is fine, but this whole like bully, like I hate bullies gimmick, to me, I don't know, for whatever reason it hasn't worked for me since the fucking first second that I saw it.
It's a pretty terrible gimmick.
Yeah, it's not. It doesn't seem like, and it's not like Ryback is this great generational talent or anything. But at the same time, it feels like they're underutilizing a dude that for a little while they looked like they were just going to Goldberg him and just smash him over to the title.
I think when you have character development like that, there's nothing in the Kit Ryback character right now that is the person behind that. He can't draw from anything.
Yeah, that's fair.
Draw whatever is fed to him by creative, and he's trying to make the best of it, but it's not going anywhere.
Right. And there's a lot of the dirt sheets for a little while were reporting that there was a chance that Ryback could be shown the door relatively soon.
Relatively soon. I don't see it that fast, but
no, fair enough. Yeah. So the match itself kind of felt like a relatively typical Ryback match, slightly slow paced. He's high impact. It certainly wasn't bad. It's just you kind of know what you're getting there. But again, we can say the same thing about a guy like Batista for the first couple years of his career. You knew what you were getting out of Batista, and then even later on. But like eventually, you're gonna grow and you're gonna get better. Of course, post match, CM Punk climbs the cell, gets to Heyman, wears him out with a kendo stick, a little bit better than he did the first time because Heyman actually, sold it a little bit. Because the first time when he was kind of handcuffed and Punk was wearing on him with the kendo stick, Heyman seemed to be barely selling it at all. You know what I mean? And so this time he kind of sold it a little bit more and everything like that. And then, of course, hit him with the GTS when he was on the top of the cell. And this is a great question to pose, I think, to everybody. Is this the end of this feud? Because it looks like we had a definitive winner to the feud here in CM Punk. Dave, do you think this is the end of this feud, or do you think you see this going a little further?
I actually thought about bringing this up. I honestly don't know. I don't know what they have for CM Punk right now. Is he going to go after Cena for the title? Possibly. Mm-hmm. But I'd like to see maybe tonight just to see where they're going to put him next. They could draw it out again. Maybe try and get a Brock Lesnar fight out of it again.
Well, this was my thought on it too. Yeah, like you had, like, sure, you could say that Punk now is the definitive winner in the Ryback portion of this feud, but of course Brock left him laying. So it's there's that they could possibly go back to.
It's like fighting up through DX, right? You're going to fight through X-Pac, and then you're going to fight the New Age Outlaws, and then you're going to get to Triple H. So Brock is their Triple H, right? They're going to get to that point where he's the biggest person you can fight in that feud.
That's actually a really interesting way to look at that. I like it. I like it a lot. We're gonna. That's a Dave trademark there. That'll be a new portion on the podcast. A Dave trademark. We'll just bring you on every week. You toss us just nuggets of gold like that, and we'll just call it a Dave trademark.
It'll be unbelievable.
Unbelievable. You mentioned that when we talked a little bit earlier. You brought up an interesting thing about Bo Dallas that I would absolutely love it if you'd share that with us.
Oh, when he first debuted on NXT, I couldn't stand him. He's white bread, no gimmick, just a guy. I didn't know if I should like him or hate him.
Right.
He seemed to be a face, but I couldn't tell. And as soon as they put the title on him and he got that stupid asshole gimmick where everything is unbelievable and don't stop Bo leaving, I just want to smack him every time. And it's amazing.
What's that?
It's
good writing out of creative. That's impossible. Shit.
Oh, he's such an ass. And it just seeing him get his comeuppance is what you look forward to. And that's what else is the business for, right?
Well, you know what? Fair enough. And people could draw on that lesson when we eventually get to our main event of the evening tonight. Nick, did you have anything else you wanted to toss in about Punk and Ryback and Heyman? What did you think of the match? Everything like that?
I liked the match.
Yeah.
It was good. I mean, of course, with Ryback, he's not really a high impact, like fast wrestler.
Right.
He's
methodical.
I mean, you're going to get what you're going to get with him.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to be the best, but still, it's okay. Mm-hmm. I'm not a Ryback fan.
You don't back Ryback?
No.
All right, fair enough.
Not at all. But I mean, per se, it was a good match. I didn't quite like the ending with Paul Heyman going up to the top of the Hell in a Cell and doing everything. It just felt like it's something that we've seen before.
Okay.
It's just he hit Paul Heyman with the kendo sticks a couple of times, then he GTS'd him.
Okay.
Didn't do anything more, didn't do anything less. It's what we've seen before.
Fair enough. So basically what you're saying is you wanted to see Paul Heyman do the Mick Foley spot through the top of the cell.
If he did that, I would have been shitting my pants.
You know what? If Paul Heyman would have done the Mick Foley spot through the top of the cell, Heyman goes in the Hall of Fame this year.
Oh, for sure.
There's no fucking question about that. He would be. I would start a letter campaign that Heyman goes into the Hall of Fame just for doing that fucking spot. But I feel what you're saying there. It was kind of, but it was repetitive in a way, but then in another sense, it's like, at least he finally got his kind of validation that he didn't really get to have last time because Ryback kind of screwed him out of it.
Okay.
But I get what you're saying there for sure.